Hey guys, just wanted to take a few moments to talk about a couple things before we dive into today's episode and the series as a whole. When I first started this podcast series with the class of 2010 from Western Alamance, I never imagined it had the potential to become something meaningful. While recording and wrapping up the conversations, we did lose two members of our Western Alamance class, Jonathan Swarsigan and Jenny Strickland. I did have the pleasure of having Jenny on the podcast before her passing, and I'm grateful her story has the potential to live on in this space. Her episode will be released at a more appropriate time at a later date. This project is more than looking back. It's about recognizing how fleeting time can be, appreciating the people who've shaped our lives, and not taking a single moment for granted. So I implore you, if there's someone you've been meaning to call, catch up with, don't wait. Reach out, say the thing. You never know when it might be your last chance. So this one's for Jenny, Jonathan, and everyone else. Thanks. Welcome to the Cooler Conversations podcast. I'm your host, Tyler Smiley. If you're new to the show, welcome. If you're not so new, welcome back. As always, Cooler Conversations is the audio culmination of cool people and the coolest stories. Today is a continuation of the Western Alamance 2010 or class of 2010 reunion. We're continuing our trek through the senior superlatives. Today's guest was voted most or best all around. Today I am joined, she was also, I will preface this too, she was also our homecoming queen. Today I'm joined by Mary-Metta. How are you doing, Mary?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing well. I've had a couple people when I mentioned their superlatives, was there a knee-jerk reaction, or do you feel like that was like, that's my high school career? That's awesome.
It's so funny you say that. My husband always brings me like back down to earth. You know, he's like my mom will say something and I'm like, oh my gosh. He's like, we really peaked in high school. I'm like, you jerk. No, but yeah, I mean it was fun, I thought.
Yeah. It's funny. The idea to this podcast, I almost was going to be like real funny with it and like peaked in high school. And I didn't have any names in order, but I was just like, we all have all the senior superlatives or people who are like really good at a sport. And I was like, maybe that's the name, but then that seemed too self-defeating, especially for me. I was a swimmer in high school. I was like, all right, that's my peak.
Yeah. It's like, oh, well, nothing left for you to accomplish.
Yeah.
No, but it's been fun.
So when you hear that it's been 15 years, what's the first thing that like comes to your mind? Can you like grasp that?
It feels very weird. Makes me feel very old. Like I don't like if you think about it, we were 15 when we were in high school. So, the fact that it's already been another 15 years, that's so crazy to me. Like I don't feel like I'm old enough. I feel like I'm still like in my 20s,
Yeah.
which I guess is a good thing.
I think for me, I think I pause mentally at like 28. I think that's where I'm going to hold to.
Yes. After that, I like every birthday after that is just like, 27, something around there. After that, we stopped counting. So I can't believe it's been that long. It doesn't feel like it's been that long.
I know this is what interesting too with like the 15-year. I know you mentioned like we were 15 in high school. Like we're completely different people. Like this is a completely different lifetime. Like, and it's hard to like grasp. Do you have things that you're interested in now that you didn't think that you'd be interested in then?
Oh gosh. A little bit. So I never thought of myself as like a super like outdoorsy person, but I
Hmm.
like to go for hikes. I like I've gone camping and stuff. So there are like hobbies and activities in life that I have, either started to do or find interesting or continue to do that I would have never thought that I did in high school. Part of that was just because of, where we lived. Like maybe it just wasn't something that was super accessible to us. I don't live in Elon anymore, so
Hmm.
from like a combination of those things, I just have kind of, there are a few things that I feel like I would have never done in high school.
Yeah. So do you guys hike a lot?
We used to. So I lived in Utah for a while, about 5 years, and when
Oh,
we lived in
jealous.
Utah, yeah, it was amazing actually. That was one thing I never thought I'd ever do was
Hmm.
I never had any like interest in leaving North Carolina. But an opportunity came up, and so um, I lived in Utah for about 5 years. Loved it. Hiked a lot of like outdoor activities and stuff. And then now I actually live in New York, so it's a very different lifestyle
Oh,
from
wow. You're
just
all over the place.
yeah, hop back and forth a little bit. So I mean, I don't live in the city. So,
Yeah.
living a little north of the city, it is very still accessible for some hikes and stuff. It's not the same. But, also life kind of happens, right? Like, I recently bought a house and, we're going to be growing our family. And so it's just things come up and you don't always have that time
Hmm.
to drive for 30 minutes and go on this like 4 mile hike and then drive back. Like things just come up. So when I can, I like to go hike and kind of do some outdoorsy things.
Yeah. Do you, so especially with Utah and New York, so I'm originally from Ohio, but I know that part of me is dead as far as like my temperature, like ability to adapt. Do you have that thick skin now? Like you can deal with the New York winters?
Um, the winters, yes, because I mean, especially when
Mhm.
I lived in Utah, like they definitely had. I dealt with way more snow in Utah than I do here in New York, so that's been like I was baptized by fire when I moved
Oh,
to
okay.
Utah. Like they would cancel
Hmm.
school here for like before a single snowflake would fall. And
Yeah.
then in Utah, like I would go to work, schools would still, go every day when there was like a foot of snow on the ground.
Everyone's
So
got like chains on their tires. They're just built
literally,
different out there.
literally, yes, chains. It's like the real deal there. So, I got very used to snow, very used to the winter. So I don't really mind the winter. I actually like all four seasons. This time of year, I am pretty jealous. Like I still have family in North Carolina, so um, I do get a little jealous that this time of year it's like 70, 75, 80, and I think the
Yeah.
high today was like 45 here.
There's
So
there's a caveat to that. I recently saw this video, and North Carolina had two in the top 10. It was the worst cities to live as far as pollen. I think it
yes,
was Greensboro and
Greensboro. I
Raleigh.
saw that. Yes, I saw that. And I'm like, perfect. Right there in the middle.
It's so yes, I think you're good where you are. That's the one thing with this. We have like really good spring and a really good fall, but then we have to swim through the humidity in the summer, and it's not fun, but
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
still home.
Right.
Um, Do you like as far as going back into like high school days, um, what would you say? This is I don't think I'm trying to think how to prompt this. Like how would you like approach yourself? Like let's take a teleportation, let's go back. Any advice that you would have given yourself from now to 15 years ago? Graduation, Kaylee McCloskey just told us to throw our hats in the air.
So I would say, it's taken me a really long time to not be such of like a people pleaser.
Yeah,
Like I
I feel that.
always that is like it's in my bone. Like I've always want to help people, even in the profession that I'm in now. Like I work in the medical profession, so I just have this like intrinsic desire to always be helpful to people or to make their lives better. And so I feel like being a people pleaser inevitably comes with that. But sometimes it's also difficult to, you know, also see what's best for your own life. And, you do kind of have to know your boundaries, I guess. So
Hmm.
it's taken me, I feel like it's something that people still work on their whole life. So, but definitely in high school, that was one that I would be like, you should, prioritize yourself a little bit, not be such of a people pleaser. You're going to learn some hard lessons with that, but valuable
Yeah.
lessons. But I think that's probably the one that I would tell myself the most.
Yeah, imagine if we grew up with the internet and we had self-help being broadcast to our TikToks and Instagram, or morning routines. I don't know if you saw the recent one where the guy's like dipping his face in ice water.
Yeah,
if if
I think
only.
about that too, especially with like the accessibility to social media. Like we were right there at the cusp of like
Hmm.
starting to use social media in high school, really like the transition of MySpace into
Yes.
Facebook.
Yes.
And even like I don't even think we really had Instagram yet. I think Instagram was more like into college.
Yeah, yeah. I think it was like 2012, and I remember posting a picture of a tree.
Yes, it's all very grainy with
Hmm.
very like stylized pictures. It's come a long way. But we were right there kind of at that cusp of being able to use like Facebook, and it
Hmm.
obviously is not used how it was in 2008, 9,
Yep.
10. Like it's all very different now. So I can't imagine. I feel like it's high school's completely different now.
100%. It's funny. That was actually one of my prompt questions I've been asking everybody. Is like, we grew up in the time where, like you said, we had maybe a little bit of MySpace, we had the ability to code, and then we lost that, and then we had Facebook, but that was it. Like that was as like bare minimum. Like you posted the most, arbitrary sentence, like going to practice today, and it wasn't like this giant thing that it is now. We didn't have the information shooting us. We even had like 90s. Everyone has the thing about 90s kids, but we even had like a childhood. You went out, it's outside, or the traditional childhood went outside, bikes, trees, like all that stuff. And now it's so fast. And now we're at a point where we have like artificial intelligence. It's nuts. Have you had any like time to, have you ever digested that? Like as far as like your transition into a, like, now we're adults. Like, have you thought about that?
Um, yes. But it's in a way that like I kind of mentioned earlier in terms of like, it's been 15 years. I don't feel like
Hmm.
it's been 15 years. Like, I'm like, am I really an adult?
Yeah.
Are you sure? I don't think so. I pay my bills and I have a job and, like this and that. But,
Hmm.
so it's, I also think about how when I was younger, especially like, I danced all through like school growing up and in college. And when I would have dance teachers, especially ones that were coming from like Elon University or
Hmm.
whatever, I'm like, oh my gosh, they're so grown up, like they must have
Yes.
everything figured out. Like they're these adults. And, meanwhile, now we're probably like 10 years older than what those people were then. And
100%.
it's just so weird to me to think that now I'm the adult. So, yeah, it's very weird. It's difficult to wrap my head around the fact that, I'm a functioning adult and I'm, no longer this like happy go lucky kid in high school,
Yep. Yep. I have a lot of empathy for knowing what I know what life is now, and I have a lot of empathy for my teachers, whether I liked them or not. I'm like, more power to you. I can't
I,
imagine dealing with
yeah,
that.
yeah. My brother and sister in law are both teachers in high school, and
Hmm.
all the time, like they'll, and not in our school district, it's another school district, but all the time I'm like, I don't know how you guys do it.
Yeah, it's
I
nuts.
really don't know how you do it. I don't know how you deal with what you deal with every day. Like, I was definitely like I was not a typical like troublemaker in school and
Mhm.
stuff. And I'm like, I don't know how you do it.
There's a meme. I'm sure you've seen it. It's 2008. I'm playing video games or doing something. Meanwhile, my parents are downstairs dealing with the recession
Yes. Yeah,
and the
like,
war.
you're just, like, clueless, you know? Like, I was in dance, and I'm like, "Oh, mom, can I add another dance class?" And she's like, "Are you kidding me?" We just have no concept of, like, what's happening.
It's nuts. Do you, and this is another thing about our generation, because at least we're being pinged this way. Do you have a lot of nostalgia? Like, do you get nostalgia baited easily?
Um, I do, especially with music. Like,
Okay.
um, again, like, growing up dancing, like, music was always something that I really, um, like, just had a lot of connection with was music. And so anytime that I hear an old song or something like that, I'm like, oh my God, this brings me back to, like our like Sadie Hawkins dance or,
Yes. Oh my
whatever
God.
it was. Like, so that's probably the most that. And, also now with social media too, they'll say, remind you of all these like clothing trends and stuff that either were popular in
Hmm.
like 2008, 2009. Like that brings me a lot of nostalgia. So I would say mostly music and the occasional, like if I see like some of the old, fashion trends that, or even ones that are coming back around, I'm like, oh my
I was
God,
about to say.
no. Like super low waisted jeans from like
Yep.
Abercrombie. I'm like, not those.
I'm waiting for ankle socks to be popular again, because I know that's all Gen Z talks shit about us.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
we don't
I'm
have
I'm
we don't have
actually
food.
wearing ankle socks now, really showing my age. So yeah, I old habits die hard. I can't, what can I say?
Do you going into, like, especially with the nostalgia, or jumping from nostalgia, do you have any bit of you that like has that crotchety old personality where you just start hating on the younger generation? Has that hit you at all, or do you have
Oh
complete
gosh.
empathy for it?
That's a tough question. I want to say yes. And I feel like most of the times it is, oh, you know what I really like actually? So, um, we recently just like went out for dinner, went out for a couple drinks, and the bar that we went into was a like 25 and up bar. And I'm
Okay.
like, that's where it's at.
How do they do that? You have to have a fake ID to get in, like in order past 21.
Yeah, I mean that you just have to show your ID, and if you're not 25 or older, then you're not allowed in.
Wow, that's
So,
interesting.
um like that age, that like,
Hmm.
going out and going like being crazy and obnoxious, like
Hmm.
that makes me old and crotchety really fast. I'm like, oh my God,
Yeah.
I'm not dealing with this. Fun's over.
I
So I was like, oh, that's a great idea. And then I realized how old I was and how like unfun I probably am now compared to, previously. Um,
You
so
start
yeah,
looking outside. You're just like, what are these kids? Why aren't they in school? What are you doing?
yeah, yeah. Like, are you old enough to be here?
That's funny.
Did your mother know you're here?
It is funny. I think we all share the same. I think so. For me, it's the if it's loud. If it's loud, I don't like being there. I need to be. It needs to be quiet.
Oh,
It needs to be like a speakeasy. I hate loud music. That's why I don't go anywhere near those clubs anymore.
yes. Loud music is also really annoying. And of course, this is a very popular one, the parking.
Oh my God, yeah. Is there any moments from senior or even just general high school that you like that just cemented themselves for you, like even life defining, anything like that that you just remember as like a core memory?
Um, Honestly, I would have to say the like when I was homecoming queen, actually,
Nice.
because I mean, it was like, you know, football, like Friday Night
Hmm.
Lights, for Western Alamance was huge. Like,
Hmm.
everybody went. it was a really good football team, for many years, and it was like such a big community event. And so,
Yeah.
for that to be announced there, like it was so exciting. My family was there. It was just really fun, like it's something that's stood out in my mind as like an exciting moment for me.
Oh, I can understand that. I mean, that's 1 and 2. You're in front of the entire school, entire community. Like that is a huge highlight. Um, for me, I always think of like these stupid things. Like I remember I mentioned this. I can't remember who I mentioned to. I think it was Kirby. The deer. Do you remember the deer running into school and breaking open the windows?
Oh my God, I forgot all about that.
It's even on our yearbook. There's a little deer on the side of the school.
I
We
forgot all about that. There are a lot of like weird, like one-off things, and I'm like, oh my God, like I forget, like, so there was something with like a senior prank or with our principal. I can't remember what it
mhm.
was, but it was something like silly and crazy.
We had a lot of scandals with staff. We had,
Yes.
and I'm not going to say anything. I've learned I'm not going to say anything, but yeah, we had a lot of scandals with staff. We had an outdoor school that always flooded. Obviously, a deer runs in there. Um, yeah, it's just nuts. This is what life in the South is.
Oh, didn't we have like maybe not when we were in high school, but I have an older sister and an older brother, but especially when my sister was there, I'm pretty sure they had like a bring your tractor to school day.
Yeah, I've heard that, but I feel like we were copying because I know Southern Alamance rocks
Right.
that.
Right.
I used to coach Southern swim, and that's all the kids would talk about. It was like, "Hey, we're gonna go do that." I was like, "Why?" That wouldn't surprise me if Western tried to do that. I know they had like the trucks in the this one side lot. It was like bring a truck to school. We didn't really have a senior prank, and that's because the year before they went way overboard. So we had like
That's what it
yeah,
was. I knew
yeah,
it
the
was
year
something
before.
about that. Yeah,
It's
that's what it was.
I imagine that'd be in a good interview. Like, hey, how's it? You in
Whose
jail?
idea was that? Let's dive into that a little more.
At least we didn't burn our school down like our next door neighbor.
There's also that. The school's still standing. I am
hmm
a little surprised that like the school hasn't been renovated or even for like safety reasons
Oh yeah.
because like especially now with like the necessity of safety of students, like
hmm
how do they like you have to leave buildings in open air in to like change classes and stuff. Like I'm surprised that that's like how do you even manage that?
I I can't imagine being faculty. Like I'd be like, where are the kids going? That they might run away. Like I don't know how you would patrol that. I mean, for that might be why some teachers they were taking their job seriously, and I get it.
Speaking of nostalgia, one thing that really brings me back is the like flare jeans when it was raining and your jeans would be like completely soaked up to your knees because
Oh
you'd
my
have to
god.
like walk, outside when you're switching classes. It floods, there's puddles everywhere. Your jeans are long and big,
hmm
and you're just completely soaked with wet feet and wet legs all
Or
day.
the Abercrombie like flare logo that was just peeling the entire time.
How many different color collars can you layer on top of your like polos that you have?
Those need to come back. We just need to bring those back. I'm waiting for that to like if Kendrick Lamar would have walked out there with a pop collar, it would be
He had the jeans on. I would have screamed. I already screamed. I was like, what is he wearing? Like, why am I back in 2010? But the polo, the double, double
hmm
colored popped polos, that would have really done it for me.
Pubs the pop polo, and then like the undershirt, like the white undershirt for the guys. These are the things I remember, and then basketball
The puka
shorts.
shell necklace.
Ooh yeah, everything Hollister.
Yes. Some of the guys would straighten their long hair.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. There was the straighten your long hair, and then I know every guy, including myself, we had like that mushroom head. So it was just like the bowl.
Yes.
It was the
Yes, it
Zach and
was like
Cody.
yeah, yeah.
It's nuts. Are there well, I guess kind of going into that, is that something you want to bring back? Any of those that you want to see now?
Absolutely. Actually, I wouldn't be that upset if like the gaucho pants that were like this. It was kind of like wide-legged capris.
Yes.
So comfy. I mean, it's like
I think
athleisure.
Brenda Song was wearing them here recently. My fiance, she'd be watching Brenda Song stuff all the time. So I saw a video. We have the same algorithm, I guess.
Yeah,
So I think
really.
she brought them back.
Yeah. So I would not be upset about that. They're very comfortable. Um, but other than that, no low-waisted jeans. That's a hard no.
They're in style now. So
Not super into the flared jeans, just strictly for the rain reason.
Mhm.
Um, I don't need 17 layers of a like lacy tank top and then the polo, the two polos on top, one of them popped. Like
Yeah, we can
I'm
leave
over it.
those. We can leave those and the recession in 2010.
And the fairies too. No thanks. I'll pass on all that.
I saw well, we'll get off this. I could go down a whole tangent
I
of just
know, I
things.
know. It's like endless.
Are there any things that you're still doing? The reason I asked this, so like a couple people are still into their sports, or they have found, I guess the preface, I'm going to back the whole thing back up. They're saying that people in their 30s, we are finding our old muses and what we used to do, like whether it was like middle school, Facebook, all for like mental health. Like I started swimming again. A couple people started, they replaced baseball with like softball or golf. And I know you were a dancer. Have you done any of that as like a refined, or have you been doing that? Anything?
Generally no. I will say it's not really the same thing, but for a long time I would either like teach group fitness classes or like I'm still taking group fitness classes, which I think that's probably the closest thing I can associate dance with, is
Hmm.
especially like teaching the group fitness classes, because it's really seriously just like a routine, that I would memorize and remember. And
Yeah.
you have like you're like in a way performing to an audience, right? Like you're demoing the moves, you're telling them what to do. You are like, you can't really mess up.
Hmm.
So I did that for a long time, and then I actually just recently stopped just because it was difficult to weave into my life. So I feel like I'm not dancing.
Hmm.
I would love to. Actually, so I went to East Carolina University. I was on the dance team there too, and every year they do a alumni weekend where
Oh, nice.
you can
Well,
go back. They
imagine
like
that's
you
partying.
learn a dance, you perform it. So I really wanted to go this year because it was like the 40th year of the ECU dance team or
Oh,
something like
cool.
that. And I had intentions to go, and again, life just happened, and I had a couple like busy weekends like
Hmm.
bookending on either side, so it just did not work. But I was super excited to like get back into dance for a weekend.
So they get like all the alumni together, almost like, and I'm going to show, I'm a big cinephile. It's that scene from Pitch Perfect 2, right? Where they get everybody from like the same thing. Is that along the
Yeah,
same lines?
yeah. So basically, like I'm a part of a Facebook group of, and you have to be like invited to it or whatever. It's a private Facebook group, and it's everybody who was on the ECU dance team, um, from like as long as 40 years, and if they're on Facebook, of course, then they're invited to it.
Hmm.
And so it's broadcasted on this Facebook page every year. They really tried to market this past year because it was 40 years of the dance team, and it was a really great turnout. I mean, I think it was like over 40. dancers came and like,
Oh, wow.
yeah. So, they all get together, they learn a routine, they have like events, like they all meet as like a happy hour or something like that. Um, they perform at a halftime for a basketball game. So it's a great time to reconnect and like, to get back to like that was such like an influential time. Even with like dance when I was growing up,
Hmm.
but in college too, it was really just an extension of that. I have some
Yeah.
really great friends, and it was such an awesome time in my life. I got some good opportunities and great memories. So to go back to that, is very like nostalgic and heartwarming, and it's
Yeah.
exciting. It's fun.
So you need to block off time for the 50th. So you have 10 years. So you just got to put a
Right.
Teams meet,
Right.
block it all off.
Exactly. Exactly. It'll be perfect.
Well, that's pretty cool. Um, so I know you mentioned at the beginning, I was going to weave into it. You and your husband, you guys, your family is growing. Congratulations.
Thank
Um,
you.
do you have any, like, obviously it's 15 years past we've gone through. Is there anything that you're expecting in 15 years? Or is it like, it's something you'd like to see in 15 years? Like, knowing how different time has been, it's like a cool predictor.
That is such a hard question. I, in 15 years, you know, my like grand picture is like, I do want to, you know, have grown my family and, um, just to like in we always say like, you want to be successful in life. Like what does that actually mean? Like I want,
Hmm.
to have my family. I want to be happy with my day to day, like I want to be
Yeah.
able to like I feel like people always say travel, but I feel like there's such a meaningful experience in travel, to
Hmm.
experience other cultures and to do other things, and I want to be able to travel with my family and my kids too.
Yeah.
I was fortunate enough I traveled my family and I, we traveled a lot, like in the summertime and for vacations. And it was a big part of our life, So
Hmm.
I want to be able to do that. So I feel like being able to combine those goals, things that make me happy, is really something that I'm looking forward to in the next 15 years.
All right. So when we do the pod in 15 years, you need to have moved from New York, you back to Utah.
Right.
And then we go back to North Carolina, just a reverse.
Right. Yeah. I'll just, make my way back around, do a little horseshoe shape, visit and do some vacationing along the way, and it'll check all the boxes.
There you go. It's the older I get, I do want to travel more. For me, it's like, I think the moment I hit 30, I was like, oh my God, like I need this time. We don't know what we're given. Like, and we were talking before, people pass away, and it's just like, it's, you don't know what's going to happen. So it's like, I've been, emphasizing a lot of my time lately, trying to coordinate that time with family is huge, because you never know like how I'm at a loss for words, because I, didn't put any thought into this one, but you had me thinking. But it's crazy. Like we're 30 years old. At a flash, we're going to be 45, or not 30. We're 33, but we're going to be in our 40s,
Close
verge of
enough.
50. Yeah, I'll take the
I'll
30
take
years off.
30.
But yeah, it's like I keep thinking about time and time and time, and how it slips away. So yeah, it's like taking advantage of these small little things, with your kids, with your family, travel, like all these memories that we can core up. In kind of going in the middle of the last 15 years, is there anything that's kind of like defined you of who you are now? And if that's too deep of a question, we can skip it, because it's just something
No,
that came up
I'm
for me.
like, it's also, I feel like you're asking really good questions. I would say, like my husband and I, we met in grad school, and then that's what really, prompted us to move to Utah. So
Hmm.
he was finishing up his PhD, and the professor he was working with was recruited by the University of Utah, and it was just made the most sense for him to go with him.
Hmm.
So that's kind of how we moved out there. I never in a million years ever thought that I would even move away from North Carolina. Like I just really had no urge, no interest. There's nothing pulling me away from North Carolina. Like when I was looking for jobs in grad school, I wasn't even looking for jobs in like Virginia, let
Yeah.
alone like, like all the way across, the United States. So when this opportunity came, I'm like, sure. Like,
Hmm.
we're young, like we don't have a family. It's really just us,
Yeah.
so why not, So this just like, I don't want to say it's a knee jerk because we did put a lot of thought into it.
Hmm.
We did realize what we were doing. But that kind of like knee jerk, like, well, what else are we going to do? We might as
Yeah.
well just hop in the car, sell most of our things and move to Utah. And, we really created our own life, our own interest out there. And I feel like that was a time where we really, figured out ourselves. We figured out what we like to do, what gave us joy, how important family was to us.
Yeah.
We loved Utah so much. But at the end of the day, and of course, it also comes down to opportunity as well. But at the end of the day, like we moved back east because we wanted to be even a little closer to our family. Obviously,
Hmm.
New York is still very far from North Carolina, but it's much closer than Utah.
Yeah.
So, having that experience in the best way it could have gone, very positive experience, but also it was very like eye-opening to say like we've done the things that we enjoyed there, but also it made us realize the things that were very important to us, which is family. Like you were saying, it's
Hmm.
you don't know how much time you have left. You don't know how long someone's going to be with you. You kind of need to celebrate what you have and enjoy what you have, um, and spend time with the people you want to spend time with. So I think that whole kind of like phase in my life of living in Utah, that's probably the one that has made me into the person I am today since high school.
Yeah. I mean, I can't refute it. I've had a lot of people, they've moved away. What really stuck with me is when you said that you guys found yourselves and who you were outside of your families. Cause I feel like a lot of people, and there's no fault in this. I'm still in the same town my family is, but like some people, they get like, they don't know who they are outside of that bubble. So like finding your guys' selves, you two as an identity out there. I mean, that's pretty cool. I've had, it's, I need to move to Utah. It's always Utah and Colorado. People are moving to and finding these epiphanies.
You find a little granola crunch in your life and you're a new person.
It might be the mountains. Like that's what I need to do is just at least
It's
move
the
to
fresh
Asheville.
air, it's the like pureness of the air and the, takes you down to the roots of nature.
Hmm.
I joke, but it is, like we did some really awesome like trips and hikes and national parks and stuff, and it does make you realize that it's like so beautiful just being there and
Yeah.
you know doing the things that you enjoy doing. They don't have to be like this big fancy thing. Like it's still nice just to enjoy it with someone
Hmm.
that you love or your family or etc.
Absolutely. Where, Mary-Metta, this has been a wonderful conversation. Thank you for joining. Is there anything listeners can, look for you? Is there anything you want to promote? Charities, anything like that?
Ooh. um There is. Um, so I will, do you have can you add a link at the
Yeah.
bottom?
Hmm.
Okay. I will have to actually message you the link. But it is a foundation for teachers where basically you can support teachers all around the United States. So if you have a teacher that you love in Utah or Colorado or Western
Hmm.
Alamance School District, you can search for the area. Oh, I know what it is. DonorsChoose.org.
Donors choose. Okay.
Donors Choose. Yep. So my mom was a teacher. Like I said, my brother and his wife are teachers. And you can basically help support a teacher in whatever community you choose. And you can help them and support them in whatever project or organization that they're asking for. So sometimes
Okay.
teachers ask for, you know, $1,000 for new laptops for
Mhm.
their technology course. So you could donate $5, you could donate a laptop, you could donate, $200, whatever it is, whatever you can
Mhm.
afford, whatever you're willing to give. Gives you a little autonomy to choose where you'd like to donate, but it does help communities and also teachers. So donors choose.
Perfect, perfect. Guys, I'll include all that in the show notes. We'll have Donors Choose on there. But thank you again, Mary-Metta. This has been a wonderful conversation. And hopefully we'll get to do this again in 5 years. We can see what everything looks like.
Yeah. Thank you for having me. It was so much fun.
Absolutely. Guys, this has been the Cooler Conversations podcast. As always, if you like the episode, leave a like, leave me a review. I don't know if it's 5 stars, 1 star, just let me know how it did. As always, this conversation is the culmination of cool stories and the coolest people. This was Cooler Conversations.